Good morning. It's another cool morning, but not quite hat weather yet. Right on the verge there. I'm wearing some light gloves. So getting into the swing of things with winter here. It's on its way. I'm trying out today the Puma Velocity Nitro 3. So I did have the Velocity Nitro 2, and it's a daily trainer from Puma. It's on the less expensive side. It uses a combination of foams. So this has a layer of the Nitro foam on top, and then like an EVA carrier foam on the bottom. But most importantly, these have that awesome Puma grip outsole. This shoe is also a little bit lighter than the Nike Pegasus 41 Gore Tex that I tried recently. So I kind of want to match these two shoes up. So I'm going to do a first impression review of these. Then I'm going to compare them both head to head in a different run, and I'll make a video about that, seeing how the shoes compare. But right off the bat, I can feel that this shoe is lighter than the Pegasus. I believe this one's around like 11 ounces, where the Pegasus is 13 something. I'll get the exact measurements for my size. These, I also got them in a 12, and they fit pretty much perfectly. Pumas tend to run a little bit long, but they're also a very narrow shoe. So this is very narrow in the toe box. So if you have a wider foot, I don't think this is gonna be a good shoe for you. I do like this colorway a lot. It's black with kind of the bright kind of neon yellow and lots of reflective elements. So a lot of running in the winter is done in low light because sun goes down early. It's still not even up that much right now, even though it's a little after 7. So having reflective elements on a winter shoe makes sense. So I do like the way these look. Now let's see how they run. Well, all right, 1 mile done in my warm-up. Usually the first time I wear a shoe, I try and run easy pace and see how that feels, but I also don't really look at my watch, and I just kind of go with the flow with the shoe and see what feels comfortable to me. So I'm kind of shooting for an easy zone 2 type pace, but just wherever my legs take me, however it feels like that's the right place for the shoe to be. And some pros for this one right off the bat. I think I ran the first mile like a 7:30, somewhere around there, where my normal easy pace is more like 8:30. Recently I've been kind of closer to 8 minutes because I have some residual fitness left over from the Chicago Marathon. So running faster, easier has gotten easier for me. But these ones, definitely, I'm going to do that comparison video between these and the Nike, but I can tell from that first mile, these have a lot more potential for speed than that shoe. They are lighter. Neither one of those shoes is a light shoe. Generally, when you have a fully padded upper Puma grip on here, or that Nike Storm Tread, the Gore Tex, it's just going to be more of a built-up shoe. I think these ones are just over 11 ounces. But that's still not a heavy shoe in my size, but not a light shoe either, kind of right in the middle. But these do feel lighter than the Nike shoes. I really like the Nitro foam that Puma's using in this shoe. I'm going to do in that dual setup. It has the EVA on the bottom, which gives it a little bit of stiffness and stability. So the shoe is feeling very stable, but it just turns over really nice. It's really smooth, buttery smooth, running along. Great transitions, a little bit of sink in and bounce, but I'm definitely not going to bottom out this shoe. I think it's helped by that EVA foam in the bottoms to kind of firm things up a little bit. But this also is supposed to have a 10mm drop, but I believe The Nike shoe also has a 10mm drop, but it feels like higher than that. This shoe feels like lower than that. It feels like it's easier to get your turnover going and easier to run faster in than the Pegasus. So I'm gonna do a couple more easy miles and then try and close things out a little bit faster and see how this shoe does at faster paces. Well, all right, Puma, and the sun is finally rising, like right in my face. But just finished 3 miles, averaging 7:20 pace. So these shoes are doing that thing that good running shoes do, where I want to run easy, but I can't because they feel too good and they're encouraging me to move fast. So I said about the Nike Pegasus 41 Gore Tex that they were good but not great. First impression, these are great. They just fit me better. The upper is tight, but it kind of fits me like a glove. I have more of a racing fit from these. And the nitro foam in these, the combination with the EVA, I think is kind of perfect, where I'm getting really nice bounce and energy return, but it's not like insanely bouncy where it's unstable. And that stability of the carrier foam really helps. And these shoes just feel smooth and excellent as I'm kind of gliding across, and they're kind of making me pick up my cadence because the energy return feels so good. It's just kind of bouncing you from stride to stride in a really smooth and nice way. So even though I'm trying to run easy, I kind of can't because the energy return I'm getting from the shoe is just kind of propelling me along with a little bit less effort. So I'm really not trying that hard to run fast, but I'm running faster, which is kind of the sign of a really good running shoe. So very impressed with these so far. I'm gonna date myself a little bit with this movie reference right now. I think Puma is kind of the She's All That of running shoes. People familiar with that movie? Rachel Lee Cook, beautiful girl, but she has a ponytail and glasses, so no one can tell how good looking she is until she gets a makeover, takes her hair down and takes her glasses off, and you're like, wow, she was beautiful all along. Puma is like that to me as a running brand. It's kind of there right in front of all our faces, but it's not as popular of a brand as a lot of the other ones. They've made a really nice resurgence in the last few years, but they're putting out some really good shoes, and if you take a closer look, you're like, damn, these are great. The Puma DV8 Nitro 2 was one of my favorite shoes of last year or the year before, whenever I ran in that one. I have to double check. I recently got the DV8 Elite 3, and that's a top tier racing shoe. So Puma has really upped their game. One thing I still can't do is tell you about the wet weather performance of these 2 new Gore Tex shoes that I got, because we're in the middle of a drought here in New York. I feel like it hasn't rained in weeks. There's brush fires popping up. I think it's supposed to maybe rain this Thursday. So should I seek out the rain? If it actually does rain, I guess I'm gonna go run in both of these shoes and see how they do, because there's no condensation lately. Well, it's finally raining for the first time in a few weeks. So I'm gonna take out these Gore Tex shoes and see how dry they keep my feet today. So 2 miles down in the Pegasus 41 Gore Tex, I'm now completely soaked. We'll see how my socks did when I head inside. So good news on the Pegasus 41 Gore Tex, it did keep my socks dry. So the rest of me is completely soaked, but at least my feet are dry. So now I'm moving on to the Puma Velocity 3 in Gore Tex, and we'll see how these compare. finally got a chance to use both shoes in wet weather conditions, and both of them did a very good job. They both prevented my socks from getting wet. You can see I was running through some puddles there and didn't get through the shoe at all. So the Gore Tex did a good job with both shoes. I ran 4 miles in the rain. I did 2 miles in each shoe. First 2 miles in the Nike, I ran a 7:18 and a 7:50. And then the next 2 miles in the Puma shoe, I ran a 7:05 and a 7:02. So again, that one's really showing me that it skews faster than the Nike shoe does. I didn't really intend for this to be the comparison video to start out, but I guess that's kind of what it's becoming. I just ran in both shoes, so might as well let you know how it went. So I'm up to 13 miles now in the Puma. I ran 6 miles in my first run, 2 miles in my second run, and then just did another 5-mile run yesterday. So definitely off the bat, just comparing these two, I much prefer the Puma over the Nike. There's a couple big differences between them. I think the Nike could still be better for some people, especially if you have a wider foot. You'll notice in the toe box here, the Nike is much wider and more accommodating. Also in the midfoot too, you can see how much wider the tongue is here. Here it's really a lot more narrow. And even at the top, how much this kind of tapers in. You can see that from the bottom as well. The Puma shoe is a lot narrower overall than the Nike. This has a lot more landing area there in the forefoot as well as the heel. They both have good grip. Nike has the Storm Tread here, which is kind of a little bit more raised, more rugged exterior than the normal Pegasus. Puma has the Puma grip, and this is clearly an advantage to the Puma between the two outsoles. This is still a good outsole. This is an excellent outsole. They both did fine when it was wet. I wasn't really slipping. I feel like the ultimate test other than ice is wet leaves. When I was running over wet leaves, these ones I could still feel a little bit not sure-footed, where I was a little bit worried about it. These ones were like, there are no leaves. So I'm just running right over the wet leaves, grip the ground around them, no issues at all. So for grip, definitely advantage Puma. The Puma shoe also has a lot more reflective elements. That's not necessarily the most important thing, but it is nice to have in a winterized shoe. This one, the laces light up completely when it gets hit with light. There's also reflective areas in both of those spots. This entire part is reflective over here, all around the shoe. So this one really like lights up like daytime, you know, when it gets hit with light. Whereas the Nike shoe has a couple places right here, in the back there, but nowhere near as much as the Puma shoe does for low light visibility. And I think really the other big differences are the fit of the shoe and the foam, the midsole that it's made up of. So as I mentioned before, this Puma shoe is a lot more narrow in the toe box and overall. So if you have a wider foot, I could see some people having issues with this one fitting them correctly. Pumas I always order in a 12. Running shoes I get either a 12 or a 12.5. Puma always seems to fit me in a 12. These do as well lengthwise. My toe is probably right about there in the 12, but this having a tighter toe box, it felt initially like maybe it was going to be uncomfortable for me to run in because it was so tight. But once I started running, it actually felt very comfortable. I didn't feel any pressure from the upper, and I haven't had any issues with that. So again, I think if you have kind of a normal volume to a narrow foot, this shoe will fit you very well. But if you have a wide foot, this one's going to be difficult to kind of cram your toes into that narrow toe box. If I was going to wear one of these two shoes for an extended period of time, just wearing them around outside, I think I'd definitely go for the Nike over the Puma, just because it's going to be more comfortable, having more room in that upper there. I don't need that tight racing fit to just be walking around and to be comfortable in the shoe. I feel like this one, if I wore it on like a long car ride, it might be uncomfortable having it on my foot so tight when I really don't need it if I'm not going to be running. The Nike shoe has React X foam in it, and there's also air zoom units in the heel and the forefoot of the shoe. As I said before, this one's a 10mm drop, but it really feels more extreme than that to me. The heel feels really high, and the forefoot feels really shallow. This one also is not stiff at all. It's very flexible, whereas the Puma shoe is a lot stiffer. It's a lot harder to bend. So this shoe has a lot more snap from that Nitro foam. So I really feel like you can turn up the pace in the Puma shoe better than the Nike shoe. This Nitro foam really has a nice combination of some softness and bounce without being too squishy. And I think that's also further helped by the EVA layer here that firms things up a bit. You can also see with this shoe, the EVA layer is actually very low on the shoe. So it's really like 2/3 or even 3/4 Nitro foam, and then just that little bit of EVA at the bottom. So you're getting all the good squishy bouncy stuff, and then a little bit of extra foam at the bottom for durability and stability. One of my favorite training shoes of last year was the Puma Deviate Nitro 2, and you can see that one also has a very narrow front of the shoe there. The toe box is very narrow. It's very similar kind of profile between these two shoes. So if you tried the Deviate Nitro 2 and found that that was a little bit too tight for you, I definitely think you're going to experience that in the Velocity 3 as well. This shoe has definitely more speed and more explosiveness than this one, because this has a lot more of that nitro foam, and this also has a carbon composite plate in it, where this is a shoe that doesn't have a plate. But I think as far as a daily trainer goes, I'd actually like to use this more for kind of my daily runs than this one, because this is going to encourage me more to hit those kind of tempo paces, and I don't always want to be using a plated shoe when I'm training. And as far as Puma shoes go, this one is like their masterpiece right now. I'm super impressed with the Deviate Elite 3. This thing is so light. It's under 8 ounces in my size 12. This has the full carbon plate, the Puma grip. This is a new formulation of the nitro foam that's a lot softer and bouncier. So this shoe is just light and fast and excellent. This is definitely a toned down version of that. I can feel the difference in the weight between these two shoes, but this is your race day shoe, your sprinting shoe, and this is your daily eat up the miles, be comfortable and stable type shoe. Buy it, weight, or second rate, I think this one is definitely a buy it. Even at full price, brand new, this shoe is $135 for the non-Gore Tex version and just $150 for the Gore Tex version. I was able to use a coupon code to get a discount as well, but I think even at full price, this is going to be a very durable shoe. Great for training runs, and then having the Gore Tex version, this is really going to help me during the winter. I think I'm going to use the Nike more for easy runs or long runs, slower paces, but this one having that little bit more energy return, a little bit more bounce, a little bit more snap to it. This is really going to help me when I want to run faster during the winter, and have a shoe that's very grippy, stable, and can also run my daily miles as well as some tempo paces. So in summary, the two Gore Tex shoes I got for this winter, this one is a good shoe, this one is a great shoe. And I think really this one's going to be better if you have a wide foot, because again, that fit is just very narrow with the Puma shoe. But if this shoe fits you properly, I think that this one just kind of destroys the Nike shoe this go around. I am currently just at over 950 subscribers to my channel. I need to get to 1,000 before YouTube cares I'm here and I can benefit from this in any way. So if you've been watching the videos and like the content, I'd appreciate if you'd subscribe. Feel free to leave a comment in the comment section. Let me know if you've run in either of those two shoes, any other kind of winter running shoes that you think are the best ones that you've tried. See you in the next review.